All right. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of President Trump's last night or yesterday's address about the Iran war. And I just wanted to say some things because as I'm looking at this, President Trump is in an address to the nation last night, said that the war in Iran is nearing completion, projecting another 2 to 3 weeks of U.S. involvement. He's also expressed confidence that key military objectives are close to being met, including dismantling Iran's missile production, destroying its naval capabilities, and curbing its regional proxies. Okay, so that's where we are here. But I popped that into Gemini AI because I really wanted to know about the contextual nature of what President Trump was stating. I answered a very simple question. I'm going to share it with you guys. I said, point out and identify any lie and or misleading statements and provide the proof and evidence why it is or may be a falsehood, aka a lie, a deep fake. Okay, that's basically what I asked Gemini. And Gemini stated here that the YouTube video you shared is not a deep fake. It is genuine, documented broadcast published by NBC Chicago of an address delivered by President Trump regarding the ongoing military conflict with Iran, Operation Epic Fury, and recent operations in Venezuela. However, the video itself is authentic. The speech contains several claims that fact checkers, historical data, and international observers have identified as false or highly misleading. So Gemini is stating that the president of the United States of America is misleading its people. Because do not forget, this is an address to the American people, is it not? Okay. Then it says, here's a breakdown of the specific inaccuracies within the speech and the evidence contradicting them. So claim one, and hopefully guys can see this on your cell phone. I'll blow it up even more. First claim, Iran killed 45,000 protesting citizens. What was said, the regime recently killed 45,000 of their own people who were protesting in Iran. And don't forget, I'm going to provide the visual evidence as well. So here we go.
Never seen anything like it. This murderous regime also recently killed 45,000 of their own people who were protesting in Iran. 45,000 dead. For these terrorists to have nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat. The most violent and thuggish regime on earth would be free to carry out their campaigns of terror, coercion, conquest, and mass murder from behind a nuclear shield. I will never let that happen, and neither should any of our past presidents.
Okay, those were the words of President Trump. We already proven that this video is not a deep fake, that it's authentic, that it was aired by an authentic national news entity, okay? And the claim was that Iran has killed 45,000 protesting citizens. So Gemini stated, here's the evidence. A death toll that high is entirely unverified and a massive exaggeration. Human rights organizations such as the Human Rights Activist News Agency, which rigorously track casualties in Iran, confirmed the deaths of just over 7,000 people during the peak of the nationwide protests. While independent monitors note the actual number could be higher due to the communication blackouts. There is no factual or intelligent basis supporting the 45,000 figure. So unless President Trump, the Trump administration, the American government have CIA, Mossad agents on ground, and they counted 45,000 bodies, then those claims, according to Gemini AI, is false. Okay. Claim two, the U.S. produces more oil than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Okay. That is the second claim. So here we go.
The millions of barrels that we're getting from Venezuela. Because of the Trump administration's policies, we produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Think of that, Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. And that number will soon be substantially higher than that. There's no country like us anywhere in the world, and we're in great shape for the future. The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait. and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it. We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. They are decimated.
Okay, that was a claim of President Trump. So Gemini states this is mathematically false, right? So we get into statistical data. It's mathematically false. While the U.S. has been the world's leading crude oil producer for six consecutive years, a trend that actually began over a decade ago due to the shale revolution. It does not produce more than those two nations combined. U.S. crude oil production recently averaged around 13.5 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia, 9.5 million, and Russia, 9.8 million, combined produce over 19 million barrels per day. Because here's the question that I know like you guys are asking. If we are producing more oil than any other nation, if we have more oil in reserves and we're fracking any pieces of oil that we are obtaining and manufacturing and producing, then why are gas prices so damn high? You have people in Alabama, in Texas, where oil is fairly cheap majority of the year. Now, even California has roughly always had a high per gallon amount of gas, but even there is now astronomically high. So again, if we're producing more oil, then why has U.S. gas prices risen? But again, according to Gemini AI, they're stating that is mathematically false. Claim 3. Obama gave Iran, I know a lot of people is interested in this one. Obama gave Iran 1.7 billion in U.S. taxpayers' cash, again, in U.S. taxpayers' cash to buy their respect. And this is in regards to Iran, to buy Iran's respect. Let's listen in.
Obama's Iran nuclear deal, a disaster. Obama gave them $1.7 billion in cash, green cash. Took it out of banks from Virginia, D.C., then Maryland, all the cash they had. Flew it by airplanes in an attempt to buy their respect and loyalty, but it didn't work. They laughed at our president and went on with their mission to have a nuclear bomb. His Iran deal would have led to a colossal arsenal of massive nuclear weapons for Iran, and they would have had them years ago, and they would have used them. Would have been a different world. There would have been no Middle East and no Israel right now, in my opinion, the opinion of a lot of great experts. Had I not terminated that terrible deal, I was so honored to do it. I was so proud to do it. It was so bad right from the beginning. Essentially, I did what no other president was willing to do. They made mistakes, and I am correcting them.
Okay, so you heard it from the president mouth himself. So Gemini stated that this claim that Obama gave Iran 1.7 billion, okay, in taxpayer money, what was said, President Obama gave Iran 1.7 billion in green cash taken out of banks from Virginia, D.C., and Maryland in an attempt to buy their respect and loyalty. Gemini states that this severely mischaracterizes the nature of the payment. The 1.7 billion was not U.S. taxpayer money being handed out as a bribe. It was the legal, it was the legal settlement of a decades-old international arbitration claim. Before the 1979 revolution, Iran had paid the U.S. $400 million for military equipment that was never delivered. Now, this is a side note here. This is what I've been stating. I know a lot of other people probably stated this before, is that the majority of people that we're now fighting, the majority of conflicts, skirmishes, and battles and wars that we've always been in, majority of these weapons come from the West. They come from Europe. They come from America. I digress. Now, the 1.7 billion represented the return of Iran's own 400 million principal plus 1.3 billion in accumulated interest. While the Obama administration controversially delivered the initial 400 million in foreign cash as leverage to secure the release of American prisoners. Framing it as an American bank money given freely to buy loyalty is historically inaccurate. So again, misleading, lies, falsehoods. So President Obama did this to have Americans to be released from the jails and prisons in Iran, and America owed Iran this 400 million. Okay, so again, when we're talking about these claims, it's very, very important to call out any lies or misleading statements. Claim 4: the U.S. took Venezuela in a matter of minutes. Let's listen in.
I also want to thank our troops for the masterful job they did in taking the country of Venezuela in a matter of minutes. That hit was quick, lethal, violent, and respected by everyone all over the world. After rebuilding our military during my first term, we have by far the strongest military anywhere in the world. And now we're working along with Venezuela and are, in a true sense, joint venture partners. We're getting along incredibly well.
I definitely want to thank all the service members for their service, always supporting the military in all regards, even though we have to follow orders sometimes we may not agree with, but that's just the call that we have. I digress. Now, what was said, the military did a masterful job taking the country of Venezuela in a matter of minutes, describing the hit as quick, lethal, violent, and respected. Gemini AI states that this is a vast oversimplification of Operation Absolute Determination, the January 2026 raid that captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The operation did not seize the entire country. It did not seize the entire country. It was a targeted 140-minute decapitation strike. Furthermore, portraying it as a swift matter of minutes ignores the intense fallout. Medical networks and independent reporting confirmed nearly 80 deaths, including many young, lower-ranking Venezuelan soldiers and civilian bystanders, alongside nearly 100 wounded. Basically, the people that we killed that they're stating are mostly children and untrained, unequipped, just not fit for the fight of Venezuelan soldiers. That is my take. That last part is my perspective, okay? So 80 to 100 people, 80 deaths, and 100 wounded. So Gemini states, in short, you are watching a real, unedited political address, but the speech relies on heavily inflated statistics and distorted historical narratives. And I put the link in there just so it has the actual reference. And these were the clips that we were looking at, ladies and gentlemen. So Gemini basically stated that the president of these United States were selling lies and misleading the American people. I know for a lot of you, either you support President Trump and all that he does, or you support him on one or two issues, or you may never support him on anything. That is your prerogative. But again, AI stated that the president is leading according to the mathematical statistical facts and all of the reports that it can gather through all the different entities all around the internet. So I want to get one thing straight right now. The problem is not that the video is fake, because it's not. We already have, proven that the video is indeed real. The problem is that the video is real. See, a deepfake is easily to understand. A deepfake is a monster with a name tag. You point it in and say, that's AI, that's fake. That has been rendered, that has been manipulated, that's fraud. What do you do when the camera is real? The podium is real, the network is real, the president is real, but the math is still drunk. That's the game. Because the most dangerous propaganda in America is not always the fake clip. Sometimes it's the real clip carrying fake weight. Yeah. Real suit, real flag, real lighting, real patriotic music. And inside that polished package, so to speak, you have the inflated numbers, the recycled myths, and the chest-thumping language designed to make confusion look like leadership. That's what makes this speech so slick. It wasn't a glitch in the matrix. It was a broadcast quality sales pitch. And here on this platform, we have to say what too many people are scared to say. You can love this country and still refuse to be lied to under its flag. Because patriotism is not gullibility. Patriotism is not clapping every time somebody says America, America the brave, America the strong, America. No, with a stern face and a military backdrop. Patriotism is demanding truth from the people who claim to act in our name. And if we walk through this mess, Trump says that Iran killed 45,000 protesters. 45,000. That's not a small miss, right? That's not a rounding error. That's not, well, he was speaking emotionally, because he wasn't. This is the kind of number you throw out when you know people will never stop to ask where it comes from. And if you look at all the different news entities and news agencies, they fact check these numbers. And it's been verified that the documented toll is at a little over 7,000. That does not make Iranian regime innocent. I'm not stating that. I'm not taking it for Iran or the Iranian regime. I'm not. We're pointing out a lot of the falsehood and misleading of the American people. But it makes this speech reckless, because when you inflate evil, you don't strengthen your case. You weaken your credibility. See, you can still paint Iran as evil, because to me, 7,000 people is an astronomical number of people being killed by the government. And that matters, because Iran's government doesn't need fake crimes added to the real ones. Their record is ugly enough all by itself, in my opinion. And if you have to juice the stat line, then maybe what you're selling isn't truth. Maybe it's emotional market manipulation. Because again, that's like Wall Street behavior in a war speech, right? Then it came the oil flex that he was talking about, that we produce more oil and gas in Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Boy, stop. Now, don't get me wrong. America is a very major oil producer. We're a beast at it, right? We became very good at it. No question. Even the the EIA stated that the U.S. has been the world's leading crude oil producer for quite some time now, and reported that the recent U.S. crude output is around 13.2% million barrels a day. But the official EIA figures for Saudi Arabia and Russia, it shows that together still exceeds the U.S. crude output, about 19 million or so that I stated before. So this wasn't a victory lap. It was a numerical costume party. And what kills me is that this administration keeps talking about energy like a man at a cookout who swears he paid for the ribs because he brought a napkin. Listen, we don't have to say that we're producing more oil than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined, even though we are outproducing them and producing oil individually, right? Again, you're trying to stack chase and add on to something that is numerically false. America being strong on energy is one thing. Pretending that the global oil market obeys campaign slogans is another. That's not economics. That's like the WWE with spreadsheets, is it not? Then he drags Obama into it. Leave the only so-called half black, half white mixed president alone, okay? Obama is far from, well, he's not far from politics. Maybe it's okay to bring him up every now and again. Again, my apologies. But he brought Obama into it again with the old 1.7 billion in cash line. Now listen, you guys can criticize Obama because I know I do all the damn time. But Lord knows America has a bipartisan tradition of messing things up overseas with confidence and a press conference, but facts still matter. And this is the thing about when people clothe themselves and somehow become a cult of the Democrats or become a cult of the Republicans. Let's just state everything in truth and facts. Because the Associated Press, right, they had an archive of the State Department's materials, and they stated that the money was part of a settlement over Iran's own pre-1979 funds. 400 million they had already paid into a trust fund for military equipment that was never delivered. We never gave the equipment to Iran, so we owe them $400 million. Picture it like this. You guys go to the dealership. You're like, man, I'm gonna get that new Bentley. I'm gonna get that new Benz. I'm gonna get that new Range Rover. I'm gonna get that new Lambo. Whatever it may be, you're gonna go get it. And they say, hey, sir, well, you know, you can pay the full price now, and then we'll deliver the car in a week or two. That's what Iran did. They gave America $400 million, and we never delivered the military equipment. So we owe Iran $400 million. regardless of what we think about them, again, we can't just go around stealing people's money. If we're making a deal, right? If we're putting it on black and white, we're making a deal, then we need to carry through with that deal, right? So when you look at this money was put into a trust fund for military equipment that it was never delivered, plus roughly 1.3 billion in interest. So you can debate the timing, you can debate the method, you can debate whether shipping foreign cash alongside prison diplomacy was optics, but calling it some random bribe and that this was American taxpayer dollars to buy respect is historical slop, in my opinion. And it is flat out lies, fibs, not telling the truth. We owe them that money. We owe them that money, unfortunately. That's the trick, though, ladies and gentlemen. That's the trick. You take a complicated story, you remove the history, you remove the tribunal, you remove the legal context, you remove the interest, then you serve it back to the public like, Obama just robbed the Wells Fargo and sent Tehran a gift basket. And it was all the American taxpayer money. Lies. That's not education. That's political DoorDash for outraged addicts, in my opinion. And then maybe the wildest line of it all. The military took Venezuela in a matter of minutes. No, sir. I don't know no military operations I was a part of, they was a part of, SEAL Team 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, how many there are, take a matter of minutes. No, sir. Words mean things. And as the president, your words hold more weight than anybody in this country because you are the representative of these United States of America all around the world. So Trump used that exact phrase, right? Reporting on the January operation, he described a specific military strike and Maduro capture operation, not America literally taking the country in minutes, because those reports also describe significant casualties and aftermath. So what Trump sold as clean, instant, respected dominance was in reality a bloody, complicated event with international blowback. And that is the biggest issue with this whole speech, in my opinion. It talks about war the way social media talks about masculinity. Fast, simple, dominant, no consequences, no paperwork, no trauma, no grieving mothers, no blown off limbs, no terrified civilians, no long tail instability. We just hit them where it hurts. Everybody respected it, moving on. No. 80 people died from that operation, 100 was wounded, and unfortunately, reports have it that there were many children and a lot of untrained soldiers who were. Now, granted, you put on a uniform, it comes with a lot of risk, so I'm not taking up for the soldiers, but definitely the possible reports of those children. But nevertheless, it was a military operation, and we know that there are always fratricide. Well, not fratricide, but in these regards, there's always going to be innocent people that are going to be harmed. But let me tell you about when you label and you say things in a certain manner. That's not how war works. That's how action movies work when you're just making up things. And I'm getting real tired of politicians using blockbuster language to market blood. That is why I will never, ever pick a side. I will never pick a side of Republican. I will never pick the side of the Democrats. I will only base my decisions on the policies that are presented, unfortunately, by both political parties. Because when you say matter of minutes, when you're really doing it is erasing the human beings that are buried inside the operation. You're erasing the wounded. You're erasing the bystanders. You're erasing the geopolitical costs, erasing the fact that every quick intervention has a nasty habit of becoming a long receipt. America has done this before. This is nothing new. Dress the balance up, compress the timeline, romanticize the force, hide the debris, call it decisive, then act shocked when the world sends the bill. That's what usually happens. And let's be honest about the deeper game here, okay? This speech wasn't just about Iran. It was about image management. It was about taking a messy conflict, a nervous public, rising energy, anxiety that people have, the shaky credibility that's all around this Iran war, and then wrapping it all in the oldest political perfume on earth. Strength theater. That's what it was. This was not clarity. This was not truth. This was not accountability, not even strategy, frankly. This was strength theater. A big boy speech for people who think volume is vision. I'm going to talk loud and proud with my chest up in front of the American people, and they're going to believe me. I don't believe everything that President Trump said. I don't believe everything that President Biden stated. I don't believe everything that President Obama said. I don't believe everything that the previous presidents all down the line ever stated, because we know what politicians do better than anything other than pass bills. They speak and tell lies. Because a speech that says, don't expect the claim, admire the posture. A speech that says, don't study the facts, feel the vibe. A speech that says, if I sound commander-like enough, maybe you won't notice I'm freelancing the numbers. Well, I noticed. And you guys should too, because when a leader tells the truth, facts hold him up, not lies. The truth holds him up, not falsehoods. When a leader is bluffing, he needs emotion to carry him. That's why the numbers get bigger. That's why history gets chopped up. That's why military luggage gets extra semantic. That's why complexity gets murdered first. And some folks will hear all of this and say, so what? Iran is bad. Yes, Iran's regime is very brutal. That's not the question. The question is, does America become stronger by lying about its enemies? Lying about our economy, its history, and its wars? I say no, because lies don't make a country powerful. They make a country sloppy, and a sloppy empire is dangerous, especially to its own people. See, I don't know about you guys. I'm America first. I love America. I want America to be strong. I want America to be respected. I want America feared by its enemies when necessary. But I do not want America turned into an infomercial where every war is a miracle product and every speech is a fact checker's cardio session. No, that's not what I want. The American people deserve better than performance patriotism. We deserve reality, do we not? Because again, while all of these things are occurring, he stated that Obama used taxpayer money, even though that was false, but they're literally using taxpayer money to fund this war that we're currently in. See, we deserve leaders who don't need to inflate body counts like a boxer padding his record. You know how sometimes you talk to somebody like, yeah, man, I used to do Golden Glove boxing and I was 39-0. Man, I never heard of you. Where are some of your posting clippings and videos? Oh, man, that was before the internet age. I mean, you don't have no videotapes, no recording? Nah, man, but I was 39-0. I was something like a big deal back in the day. No, sir. You was not a big deal. See, we deserve presidents who don't turn legal settlements into fairy tales and military operations into Marvel trailers. So no, the video wasn't fake that you saw here. That would have been a lot easier for people to point out the lies and discrepancies and say, Blacklogic, you just spinning the truth and you're telling lies, and that is your conjecture and rhetoric. The scarier truth is that it was a real video. It was a real speech, a real audience, the American people, and our real president, President Donald J. Trump, using real national pain to sell unreal certainty. And that right there, man, this is the kind of lie that doesn't need AI. That one already has a podium.